I think that we are live. I've been so excited, you guys, for this. I mean, as people are coming on, they can just witness the ridiculousness of Esther Moreno. So, Josh, I was telling them like my schedule has been like nonstop.
Mhm.
It's just been like going and going. So I knew that this was like my last thing to wear. Afterwards, I could just
That's exciting. You're gonna get a nap when we're all done.
I'm gonna get a nap after this. I'm so excited. And I knew that I was gonna be on with all of my friends. So I'm super excited. Hey, as you guys are coming in, we want to welcome you. Please let us know in the chat where you are from, as I am chit-chatting with my friends here. You guys are in store for a really awesome conversation.
It's gonna be fun.
Uh-oh. Hey guys. Hey. I know. So hey, we got some Mitch shout outs in the chat
Oh,
box.
goodness.
Wow. There's
Yeah,
some Mitch
they're like-
fanboys here. This is good.
That is
funny.
so awesome. Okay, you guys. So if you are not a part of like StreamYard in some weird technical way that I can't explain because I do not work for StreamYard, it won't show your name. So I mean, if that's important to you, you probably need to mention your name. But if you don't care,
Kathy's here. Look at that.
we're reading the comments. We are super excited.
Hey, Kathy.
And hey, Kathy. See, Andre's on it. Kathy's here. Yeah,
You
so it
said
won't
drop
show
the
your
name in there, so I was like, "Yo, Kathy, what's going down?"
Otherwise,
So
everybody
You're at
just Facebook
702.
user.
Hey, Mitch. That's right. What's up, Facebook?
You know,
user?
Kathy's here, and we know that Mitch has a fan. So we
I guess I have some fans.
Debbie's here.
And Kevin Atkins.
I'm so
And
excited.
Jamie.
Hey, look at
Kevin's
that.
here. My friend Kevin is here. What's up, Kevin? I'm super excited. You guys know, like Kevin was like my boss for like almost 4 years. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Don't ask him about my behavior. He may.
Drop that in the chat. Tell us the real.
He's like, she was horrible. Tom is here. My
Ladies
friend
and
Tom is
gentlemen,
here.
Tom Bump in the building.
Oh my goodness, super excited. Jamie. You know, Jamie has my favorite hair. I love her hair. It's so exotic. Oh my goodness, super excited that you guys are here. Hey, you guys, we are going to jump right into this because we are talking about something so important. I feel like it's going to be so fun too because I have 3 amazing men because we are talking about how to attract men in children's ministry. So I had decided to get some macho, not any men, but some macho men. I should have got Kevin too. And I've decided to get some macho men in here tonight with me who are not just men, but men who serve in children's ministry, who serve in family ministry, who know what it's like. So I'm so excited to jump into this conversation with you all. If you guys are here, we are so excited. I want you to know that we do this, man, it's been almost 4 years. Every third Tuesday of the month, we are here just to talk all things children's ministry. If you are here, you know, this is free. This is something that we just create so that we can just get better together, so we can grow together. Sometimes we grow from the chat box and someone has said something absolutely amazing. And we're like, man, we're stealing that. And we're supposed to be the experts because there's no self-proclaimed experts here. It is just us trying to grow better and bigger so that we can reach a generation for Christ and point that generation to him. So listen, if you hear anything, if there's anything on your heart, please don't wait. Put it in the chat box. And hey, that may end up being one of the questions. And we will sit and just marinate on that and talk about that. So we're going to jump right into this. Hey, before we have we have one new face. Mitch is a new face. We're going to jump right in. Mitch, we will start with you. So if you are new, which I see a lot of people who are not new, well, Mitch, they may not know you, but everyone still go around and tell us a little something about yourself.
All right, Mitch Jensen. I am a bivocational children's pastor, so I work full time, which is very difficult sometimes. But I am the children's pastor at a local church of a multi-site campus in northern Indiana. I've been in children's ministry for probably officially about 5 years. I actually go to the same church that I grew up in. So I've been going to the same church for like 24 years. And I was in the same kids ministry that I'm leading now. So it's just such an honor. I always say that, I mean, I think like a lot of us in children's ministry, it's like we're living proof of why it's so important is you don't know who you're teaching. Then you might be teaching the next kids pastor or something like that. So it's an honor to be a part of this conversation. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Mitch is also very cool. I've met Mitch in Nashville at MegaCon. And you know when you just meet somebody and there's just like this instant connection, you just know like they're amazing. That was the connection with Mitch. So I'm sure. So hopefully you see him multiple times on this platform.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. Josh, tell us who you are.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Josh Dello. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, serving at a church called Redemption City Church. So we're a young church plant. We just turned 4, so we are now in preschool. So love that. We're a fast-growing church with lots of kids. So just in the past 2 years, we've quadrupled in kids. So the soil here is rich. We're in a really, really unchurched city. So some stats show as much as 8 out of 10 Baltimoreans are unchurched. So our church strives to be a church planting movement that just spreads across Baltimore and saturates it with Jesus.
So awesome.
So I'm married to my best friend, Hannah, and we have a 1-year-old, 18-month-old, as of today, little girl named Avery. So
come on now.
Okay, so we were talking about visiting you today. So I'm super excited to come and visit you. Okay, so speaking of your 18-month-old, like speaking of that, Mitch has some exciting news.
Yes, we just posted that we are expecting twins.
Woo!
That's amazing.
Yes, very, very
double
exciting.
fun.
Right.
Double the blessings.
You guys know twins are amazing, right? Like I'm just saying because I know an awesome twin, just
That's
might
awesome.
be on this conversation tonight.
I'll have to ask you all about it.
It is amazing. Andre is here. He's feeling great. Andre, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm glad I didn't go after Mitch. It's like let's talk about that story. How you are the product of your ministry, who's now like, if that's not a success story, like, hey, look, what have I created? A couple of kids. No, like you are birthed from your ministry. Funny thing is, Josh and I were actually in San Antonio. Like I'm in Dallas. We were trying to connect in San Antonio. It never happened. Then I was in Baltimore for like a quick sprint and didn't get a chance to. I was in like Bowie. I don't know where the heck I was. So I don't know how far that was from you. But needless to say, man, I'm Andre Jones at One Community Church, Plano, Texas, 5 campuses, and still rocking the digital. Been knowing Esther for a minute now. That's my sister right there. And so anything she asks me to do, I do it.
I know, because you were supposed to be in the airport right now. And I'm like, okay, we'll see you in the airport.
So funny thing, let's talk about that, is I had booked my flight for 5:00. And then you sent me the message and you were like, hey, here are the questions and everything. I was like, oh, crud. So I go to my admin and say, hey, when's the next flight that I can get out? Which happened to be at 8:00. So I'm not traveling this week. I get to stay home with my family. I'm super grateful for that. But I just want you to know that I was going to be in the airport lounge on this Zoom telling everybody to be quiet.
He's so faithful.
You would have made it work, though.
Oh, absolutely. It was going down. There's a lot.
Oh, my goodness. You guys, I'm so excited that you are here. Thank you for joining us tonight. You guys, thank you for joining us just to really have a conversation when it comes to men in children's ministry, because children's ministry is not just for women. It is for men. So I want to ask you guys a question first. Well, no, I'm going to just switch it. Why? Tell us, why is it important? Why is it important to have men in children's ministry? I'm throwing them off because I send them questions ahead of time. So this is question number 2. Why is it important, Mitch? You can go first since you are a special guest.
Special guest. I think consistency is so important. So there's so many kids that are part of broken homes these days. Like you see so many stories of that. And I think when they get consistency somewhere and let that place be the church, they can see consistent faces and a repeating role for men in kids ministry. I think it's really important. And they can have that that healing power in that, seeing a positive role model for the guys in there. I also remember when I was younger, we have a family friend and he's like my brother. But when I was in elementary age, he took the time and he hung out with me, and we just went driving and listened to music, and we connected with that. And I think that's what's important. That's what we're not only teaching kids about Jesus, but we're connecting with them.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important, is that we have to make that connection with kids and just listen to them. And just make that connection with them.
I love it. Joshua, why is it important? I mean, we can just have women, right? They can just run the whole thing. What's the big deal?
Yeah, see, but God made both male and female.
Come on.
Look at that. So kids are wired to yearn for both mother and father figures.
Yeah.
They need that. They need gentle moms. They need firm, loving, fun dads. Both those things are real needs. Both those things fill gaps. And there's many, many kids, especially in a place like Baltimore, that don't have dads or have dads who are just not present. And for them to see that, hey, there's a man here who loves me and loves Jesus, that can be life-changing. Because if we spend all this time saying, hey, God is your heavenly father, but they don't know what a father is, and their model for father is not good, they don't want to hear that. So I think it's a big deal that we have men there, that we have men present physically and emotionally. My story is a lot like Mitch's there. My dad was military. He's great, but he was gone a lot overseas, military. And I had a male youth minister who really poured into me, loved on me. I remember mouthing off to my mom, and she called him up, and he came and gave me a good firm speaking to. And no, it was good because I needed that dad to come in and help lead and guide and shepherd me. And he did that and ended up baptizing me. So I'm still in touch with him now. And part of why I'm where I'm at now is because of Kevin Kirkland. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Andre, chime in. Why is it important to have men? How come you just can't lead it?
Oh, no, not at all. You've got to have people. The first thought came to mind is that we always talk about we want a diversified church, or we want a church to where people will see themselves. And so I love having a ministry where people will see themselves as well.
Yeah.
Where young ladies will see adult women, where young men will see adult men, and so on. But if that doesn't happen, then people can think that ministry is only meant to be like this.
Yeah.
So as a young man, I'll see it and I'll say, you know what? Well, kids ministry isn't for me. I'm meant to be the usher, the pastor, the speaker. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But we need to show our young people that men can serve in any capacity and that they should serve in those capacities. And to Mitch and Josh, I think we've all got those. I think those stories are why we do what we do. Yeah, we can call out names. Greg, when I was in South Carolina, that was a guy that took me to church. My parents didn't go to church, so my dad was a great father figure in the home. Yeah, but Greg Winiger was the father figure in the church. And then as I got older, it was Deacon Trimble, and then it was so I can name men's names that drew me to church. Yeah, and if there's not men there, they're not going to be able to draw those names. Yeah. And so they're going to shy away from ministry because they don't see themselves there. Yeah.
Yeah. So why are men not banging down the door when it comes to serving? Like, why is the line, not filled with good, strong men to serve in our children's ministries. And I'm not saying we don't have, I mean, we have them, but it's mostly ran by women. That's just kind of how it's been. Why do you think? What is the issue? Problem solvers, world changers.
A lot of times.
I'm about to say she must be talking to Josh.
A lot of times that's the message that we've sent. We haven't meant to, but we've set up ministries that are made for women to lead those. So we have fun, floofy training events, which are cool, but they don't attract men. We have policies that might have a good intent, but I know of one church that literally won't let men serve with kids under 5. You're not going to get men stepping up to serve with kids over 5 because what you've done, yes, you have a good intent to protect kids, but you've sent this clear message that, hey, man, you don't belong here and we don't trust you.
Yeah.
So with messaging, with vision, and with policies, we need to set up an environment that men feel like this place is for me.
Yeah.
I think one thing too is that I know when you're having recruiting conversations, sometimes the guys don't know that their presence is really that important.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't understand. So when I have recruiting conversations, like I tell the guys, like, listen, you don't know what playing Legos with the kids can do. Like that can do way more ministry than teaching up front in the class. Like, so I think that's important too, is sometimes they don't know that their presence is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me throw this out there because I think that that's important. I mean, obviously, that's one of the issues they don't realize. And Andre, you can kind of chime in on this. How, I mean, just in your experience or even in your opinion, and as you guys are listening and you're watching, please put your opinion as well in the chat box because we are here to grow together. What do you think that we can be doing better to help man to see that, to see how important it is, how important their presence is? I mean, quite frankly, we need to be better at doing that, period, for everybody, in children's ministry. But how can we show men in particular, like, man, you are needed here? Like what does that take?
I think globally for the church, it has to say, men, we need you. And I think once you start there, it can then trickle down to other ministries. But if you look at some ministries, they don't care where you're at, it's still predominantly lady driven.
Yeah.
So, I got out of kids ministry this weekend, got a chance to kind of go to like big church, and I'm like, man, our guest services team, for our adult guest services, was probably 60 to 70% ladies.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing guys come in. I'm like, man, what in the world is going on? Like, why? But if there's nobody like drawing after them, trying to connect them, then we are going to continue to do the same thing. My wife served before I served.
Yeah.
And I was content with just attending church because I'm like, I got here. Like for some guys, I got here is enough.
Yeah.
So they need that extra encouragement that says, hey, one, that you can do this, because I think a lot of guys feel like they're ill-equipped to do ministry because we're just trying to grow in our own faith and maintain.
Yeah.
2, I don't think there's invites for people, so they don't see the invite. And then 3, we oftentimes don't speak to their gifting. Meaning we invite them out of a need, which then feels like a burden, opposed to, hey, dude, you're pretty good at this. Have you ever considered?
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's how I'm in kids ministry. I remember getting recruited. You want to do kids? No. I got 2 kids of my own. I'm good.
And look at you today. Oh, child's heart.
But once again, I remember the guy's name is Steve Fagan. That was the person that invited me into kids ministry. It wasn't a forum. It wasn't a mass call from the pulpit. It was a men's Bible study. So there was a place for men to gather. And it was a conversation where somebody said, have you considered serving? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
But then he figured out what in the world that I like to do. Like, I like IT. He's like, oh, we've got computers because everybody has to do check-in, right? I got bamboozled. We only had 2 check-in systems. Next thing you know, I'm a small group leader. But all of that was an invite. So as a church, we've got to figure out a way to invite guys, speak to their gifting, but let them know it's okay.
Do you think on that point? Do you think that we say kind of in our heads, like even if we see somebody who we're like, man, they seem like they be great in this area. Like, do you think that we kind of say no for them? Do you think that's an issue at all? Like, oh well, they probably don't have time, so or this is going on, let me not ask, and we just kind of let it go.
Oh, I'm gonna say absolutely. I mean, as a guy, I've done that. That guy looks too
Yeah.
busy, and that's my fault because I'm saying somebody's no. But you'll be surprised that some of the busiest guys in the world are just waiting for an opportunity to do God's work.
Yep.
The question: are we going to create that environment for them?
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Jamie had put a comment in here and I loved it. Hey, you guys, if you're on here, it may not be showing your name, so you have to say your name, but it does say Christy's name. So Christy, congratulations. But I love Jamie's comment on here because Jamie's talking from the perspective of the girls. They get to see men serve and they get to see the type of husbands, that they should be kind of getting it and picking, this is who you need to get. Okay. I love this comment, Jamie. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just being an example. And it's not just to be an example, right, to the boys, but perhaps to be an example to the girls in children's ministry as well. So thank you so much for pointing that out. I'm like still kind of going through the comments, you guys, but as we are navigating and we are going through this, so I always kind of put questions. I try to pretend I don't have questions, but I really do, and I call it a conversation. But obviously, we steer off of them as well.
We still converse.
What is my next question? But listen, so all you guys serve, right? All you serve in children's ministry. So, I have a question. You're dudes, right? You're macho men, right? So, I mean, and Andre, you kind of shared it was an invitation. What kind of brought you into children's ministry? What kind of was your story? How did you kind of get brought into that? Mitch?
Mine was a little different, actually. I was attending Bible college and I had no thought or even serving in kids ministry at all. And the first assignment was to teach somewhere in the church. And I thought, I know what'll be easy. Kids ministry. They'll go easy on me. I can do that,
Famous last words.
Yeah, exactly.
Famous
Absolutely.
last
Right.
So I was like, okay, and that was like terrifying for me to like speak in front of people. Like it was crazy. But so the first assignment was to speak in front of people. And God knew that. And he was like, I'm going to start you right from the get-go. But I taught in the kids ministry. And from then on, I just served my guts out. And I also knew that like, it was what I loved. I remembered what I loved about it when I was in there. And also God told my pastor that was the next kids pastor about me. And I think that they both didn't tell me that for a while because they knew I probably would have ran for the hills once I found out because I was just so new into it. But mine was just it was a longing to see the difference that it made. Like I remembered what it made an impact in my life, like the teachers that I had. And now that I'm serving alongside with the people that taught me. It was just a powerful experience. And it was famous last words, like you said.
Yeah. Josh, how did you get involved? And you kind of had a unique story because initially, I mean, you've been like in charge of like the preschool. So I love how you talked about, the policies against men in the younger kind of age range. So how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so I actually started really young. I was about 15 when I first led my first kid small group. So I had known for years, probably since I was in third or fourth grade, that I had wanted to teach kids. I had thought that was going to be in a school setting. I remember building fake classrooms and typing up fake standardized testing for my little brother to take. He loved that. So then when I was about 15, thought, well, I should probably go work with kids and just make sure that I like kids. So yeah, so started doing small groups, and then somebody tapped me and said, hey, Josh, we actually think you'll be really good at large group. Do you want to jump on stage and teach large group? Now, this was a huge church of about 250 kinder first graders, and I did not want to. I love doing small group, and I, my whole childhood, had a really bad stutter, and thought, well, who am I? I can't go up there and teach this large group. But they talked me into saying yes. I jumped up there and taught, and walked off stage saying, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Wow.
Absolutely loved it.
That's awesome.
And caught that bug, and I haven't been able to put that down since. So
I love it. I love it. And Andre, I'm gonna have you I'm gonna throw a curveball in here because I love. I mean, I don't know why I even write secret questions because we end up getting them in the chat box anyway.
Yep.
But I love this. I'm reading this, and once again, I can't see your name, but I love you so much for writing this because it's so true and so just transparent. But just about how, there are, moms and parents, they feel uncomfortable to drop their children off, especially kind of Josh, what you were talking about, especially in those younger ages. How can we? It's like this negative like stereotype. If you're a dude, like how can we go about breaking that? What do you think we can do to break that? Give us all of the answers, Andre.
All of the answers. No, I mean that's a Josh thing. So I'm gonna say a little bit. Josh was known as like the preschool pastor.
He seems like the resident genius. I mean, I think
he was. Not even was. He is. I'm sorry. You currently are. So. But I'm going to throw a curveball back because we are one of those churches that actually we don't have men that serve under 2 years old. So 3 years old all the way up, we allow men to serve. The reason we did it for the younger age groups was simply for safety, security, and then changing of diapers. And so that was just one of the things that we implemented. We've done it across all our campuses. It's worked well. But we try to ensure that we have guys throughout our hallways just to welcome families, a little bit of security,
to make them feel
checking
safe.
and all those good things. So I will throw that out there. We 3 and up is where our guys can serve. But I think we're intentional about having those people there because of all the things we've already said. It's because it is safety, it is security. And I think, once again, as a family, that when you come in, you want to see both guys and girls, right? And so, when you're going to go to that classroom, you're going to see, you're going to see Miss Adriana, Miss Rachel and all that. But there's the guy who's giving that fist bump and that high five, and that brings a smile to a family. And so we try to partner there to where we're more like our guys are more of the safety feature there. But we don't have minutes, but you need them. I mean, they need to see everybody.
I felt like we did see. So Guy and I got to go to one community and visit with Andre, and for me, I was super impressed with just the culture. You could just feel it, and I saw men, fist pumping. Do you remember the one dude we saw? And I was like, man, what a phenomenal example to the children. I mean, he was acting crazy. Do you remember it was a praise and worship song, and he's sitting there and he's like jumping and just serving as such an incredible example. I thought about David and how he was like, I will become even more undignified than this. And he's sitting there, and I'm like, this is so inspiring to me, and just being an example of what worship,
absolutely
should look like.
Absolutely. But I'm gonna say one thing, and this happened to me 2 weeks ago. So our 1-year-old classroom was overrun. Miss Charity was literally going to fight me. And so normally I don't step in the classroom, but I stepped in the classroom because I needed her to know that I was for her.
Yeah.
And so I'm in that classroom, and the response that I got from the kids, the response I got from the volunteers, and the response I got from parents made me start to rethink what nursery can look like.
Wow.
Because I was the one that was handing the kids over there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I had something. So here's the point. Parents were like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. They said, you're not normally back here. Which made me think to what the question ultimately says is,
Yeah.
do we need to shift this so that's not a question of you're not normally back here, or it's like we're glad to see you here.
Yeah.
And so I just want to throw that out there because that was an interesting thing that happened.
Oh wow, that is so awesome. All right, I see a comment. It says, "I continue to believe that today, more than ever, children need the image and example of men in children's ministry." Totally agree. My experience has been incredible and beautiful and amazing. I learn more things every day. It is awesome to work with and for kids. Love it, love it, love it. This is so
Esther,
awesome.
can I chime in with that last
Oh
question
my
too?
goodness, absolutely.
Um,
Our resident genius is
yeah.
chiming
Told
in,
y'all.
everyone.
Told y'all.
So
Got my
still have
notepad.
policies in place that when a mom is nervous dropping off, that hey, this man has been vetted, interviewed, he's up for this task. And then there are safeguards in place, not just to protect those kids, but to protect that man too.
Yeah.
So for us, we don't have men changing kids.
Yeah.
So some of my rock star nursery volunteers have been men, and that's been at more than one church now. Some of my best nursery volunteers have been men who are just these gentle giants.
Wow.
We had in a small Texas town the head football coach, which in Texas, that's like a rock star. And this man was the sweetest, gentlest baby volunteer and loved it.
Wow.
And really grew from it and shared with him. His faith grew, and he felt like he grew as a dad too. So
Yeah.
I think it's valuable to have those men there, and then having more than one volunteer there, having not all men. You don't want to have all men in nursery. No, have
Yeah.
men and women, have
That would be
cameras,
weird.
have policies, have safeguards, and we even had at my last church, and I'm working to set up here cameras that stream from nursery to the main church hallway, so
Yeah.
parents can peek in and see at all times, hey, this is what's going on in
Yeah.
nursery.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That is so awesome. We have a comment. It says one of our most macho men in our church serves in nursery. He does an amazing job, and the kids love him. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Tom says, look, I can see Tom. It says we can normalize men serving the more we keep them visible. Yes. So it's so important that we
Absolutely.
keep them visible, sharing stories of their influences on the kids that they are serving. I could not agree with you more, Tom. We're going to keep this moving. All right. So I have a question. What, and you guys can kind of just chime in, and you guys can chime in too in the chat box. What methods have you all found to be the most effective one in both attracting men and retaining them and keeping them in children's ministry? Who's
I'm
gonna?
tell you. I'm telling you, it's the most complicated thing in the entire world. Discipleship.
Yep.
Like for real, that's
Yeah.
why a lot of our guys serve. They've either been discipled by one of our leaders, or they've been in a leadership group or discipled by me.
Yeah.
And it's huge because you just don't want service to be the place where you just come on the weekend and that's it. Like our guys, they were fighting to get there. Like, hey, what are we doing this every first and third? So we
Yeah.
were doing it like twice a month. Then it turned into weekly, and those are the guys that stick because now they have a brotherhood more than just a serving call.
Yeah.
But they serve and they'll go find other guys because now they're not saying, hey, just come serve. They're saying, hey, come be a part of this group where I'm learning, I'm growing. And then like, well, what do you do on the weekend? Oh, I serve in our kids ministry. Well, heck, can I come with you? Well, absolutely. So it's more about I
Yeah.
want to see something in you and through you
Yeah.
than just, hey, come be in my ministry.
Yeah. Okay. I totally agree with that. How do we don't do that enough. We do not
Right.
disciple enough. How can we get past the grueling busyness?
Mhm.
I shouldn't do that with my eyes. I'm the pretty one on here. How do we get through this grueling to-dos and really make room to do what we should be doing, discipling people? Because I mean, I know that you do that, and I know that that is the heart of so many who are watching, people who are going to watch later. You know, that's their heart. They want to disciple, but they feel like they don't have time. Speak to that person who would, I mean, come on, that discipleship thing is so important. I don't believe that we make enough room for that. How can we create the necessary space to do that?
2 quick points there. Start with one
Mm,
and seek out one dad who is just a great present dad, or you see that he could be that,
yeah.
and just start to meet with him and pray with him and lead him in the
Yeah.
everyday stuff of life, as Jeff Vanderstilt says. Start with one and do for one what you wish you could do for all, like Andy Stanley says.
Yeah.
And then second point there, set up systems so that you're not doing every single children's ministry task. Because if you are, then you're not going to have space and room for what Jesus has called us to, which is to disciple. That's a job from Jesus that he's given us. And if you're so busy with the day-to-day children's ministry stuff, that does matter. But if there's stuff that you do every single day that somebody else could do just as well, train them so that you're freed up to go out and make disciples.
Come on now.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that really speaks to Joshua. I mean, I've been a control freak before, you know, and I think that we make excuses. We don't think that somebody can do it as good, you know, as we can. But the problem is, it really does prevent us for making room for what we're supposed to be doing, you know. So I think that is such a good point. Are you excited, Andre? What
I
happened?
am, because the chat already asked the question that I wanted to throw the curveball at, which is ultimately Facebook user who didn't tell us her name, but it's all good. They said discipling
Everybody's
is wonderful.
name is Facebook user,
Hey,
except
Facebook
for Tom
user
and
at
Christy.
738. Yes. It says, how does it work as a married woman? So ultimately the question is, how does this work for ladies? And I wanted to dive into this. Really, I wanted to hear from you, Esther. How did I just start asking you questions? But no, it's the question, because it's easy for us to say that discipleship, right?
Yeah.
Josh, Mitch, we can go grab some guys right now, sit around, cup of coffee, barbecue, whatever, easy. But for the lady who's listening, what in the world does that look like? Like, what are they gonna do? Because that's awkward.
It is awkward because we're not gonna, you know. It's true. Look, please chime in, ladies, if you are. Why are they putting all this up? No, I think it's absolutely true, because for us, and I think that that's a great question that we need to stop and think about. Because first, we're not going to grab men and be like, man, I really want to counsel you and disciple you, you know, and bring you alongside. And I think that's why we're having this conversation tonight. How can we attract more men in children's ministry? Because that is the most realist, transparent question. Because you're right, there are boundaries, and there are safety, you know, nets and boundaries that we need to have. You know, we shouldn't be out, you know, hey honey, I'm out with Bernard. That's the first name that came to my head. You know, and we're having dinner, but really I'm discipling him. Yeah, that could be the wrong look, you know, for doing that, which is why we need more men in children's ministry and to disciple them. And the whole point of discipling people is so that they could get raised up, and now they're discipling others. So then that person is bringing more disciple, and then that person is growing, and then they're creating more disciples. That is exactly what Jesus did. He grabbed 12 ragtag men that turned into like 72, that turned into just across the globe disciples for Jesus Christ. And that is definitely what we should be doing. And that's the tea on that from Esther Moreno.
I think one thing that kind of can start that ball rolling is getting your kids' ministry out in front of the church as much as you can. I think that that's sometimes that it's easy to do. Like
Yeah.
get your kids up on stage every once in a while and talk to those needs up front. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, do the call out up front and just say, here are a couple things that we need. Like, we are needing men in kids ministry. This is what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
I think doing that is just, and as you start to do that more and more often, you have family events, you have guys serving at those, like you see it more and more. And I think that will get the ball rolling in your church too.
Mitch,
That's great.
do you think that we should be more intentional? You know, I like how you're saying, helping people to see, as well. I think I'm just to throw it out there. Okay. Because I'm a picture girl, okay? And I think it's important. Andre, you do great pictures. You were in my presentation today earlier, and you don't even know it because your pictures are phenomenal that you take, and you're baptizing this kid. But I think that it's important. It's important that we are intentional, and those pictures that we show. Hey, look at this man, and look at all these men, or look at this guy in children's ministry and how he's loving on the kids and how the kids are having a great time. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there because this is a free conversation. I think that we should just we skip those little elements of just excellence here and there, and I think that we should definitely be showing that. It's not shallow, but it's really not. I mean, I think that it's a part of outreach and drawing more people in. I think it's okay to make children's ministry look attractive. We're not sinking ships. We serve in the most fertile mission field in the world, and I think when it comes to the pictures that we get, we should do it with a spirit of excellence. Sorry, okay. Continue, experts.
I agree.
You're spot on. I think I was just jotting down things as you were going. So, and I'm speaking from if there's a lady who's trying to lead this ministry, what does it look like? I mean, one, I try to go to my men's ministry to see, hey, can we create some type of partnership? Two, our young adult guys are phenomenal. Like those guys kill it. They come serve. So if you got a young adult ministry, can you pull that? If you're married and your husband doesn't mind being a little bit of kids ministry, can he just come stand in the hallway and just like try to talk to people?
Yeah.
If I'm a lady and I'm trying to have a regular meeting where I can kind of draw my guys to, then maybe like I do leadership meetings on Thursdays with my kids team. So that's a place where I can bring in both guys and girls and it doesn't feel awkward because everybody is there. So it's not so much discipleship, but it could be culture, it could be leadership, it could be fun. And that's all via Zoom right now. So it's not intrusive to where that person's wife can be like, why are you going up to the church 7 o'clock to hang out with, such and such?
Nice.
No, hey, this is a leadership team meeting, not discipleship.
Yeah.
But then as you get that one guy, going back to what Josh says, find that one and ask them, will they be the champion? And if you got some money, give them some money so that they can get the guys some tacos, some coffees. Do like the schools do. I don't know if y'all have, we have a thing called Watchdog. Like my daughter was so excited that I did Watchdog. Now they worked me way too hard. But I still have the t-shirt to this day. So guess what? Other guys that see that resonate with Watchdog. What's the thing in our ministry that when men see it, they were like, oh, you're a part of that, or I've seen you there, or I know about that, and maybe they want to. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing, then they're never going to ask the question about how in the world do I get into your ministry. They're going to go to where they see guys, parking, security, greeting, and they're never going to come. They're never going to come to kids if we don't create that
parking lot ministry. It's a really popular one. Okay, so Andre, you would agree then? Or I don't want to speak for you. Will you agree that is an effective way to get men is to kind of go through the wives who are already serving? Or
I think you've got to. I think somebody dropped in there and said get the husband. I think they say get couples. It was Kevin who said get couples. So I think absolutely. Yeah. So one prime example, I got Miss Charity who serves. Miss Charity, where your husband at? He's just looking for a place to serve. Give me his number. I'll call him. Nice. So I call him. But like they're just waiting for the opportunity. Yeah. But then you can't just say, I'm gonna throw you into this classroom. Hey man, it's a I want you to come hang with me.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want to see where God wants to use you. And it might not be in kids ministry.
Yeah.
But people will talk about getting to the place they love opposed to getting to the place that you just stuffed them into.
Yeah. I love it because I mean I'm just hearing this theme of discipleship. It would just everything that you guys are saying is just discipleship. How do we get men and more men to be attracted to children's ministry is don't just I mean I think that's for everybody. Don't just throw people. Historically, I think that we have a problem. I'm gonna do a woosah. I think we
Mm-hmm.
have a problem in children's ministry, because we need people. So if as soon as they volunteer, we end up throwing them, in these different spots. And I think that just doing that it kind of works against us.
Mhm.
When we think, oh well, great, this is covered, that's handled. But when we skip that leadership piece, when we skip that training piece, when we
No.
skip that discipleship piece, is actually working against us. And it just kind of makes us hamsters on a wheel when we do it that way.
Yeah, we toss people into the deep end and hope that they'll learn how to swim.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we're shocked when they drown and last for a month.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we blame them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not committed
Mm.
and they should have this and they should have that when we didn't do what we should have done
That's
in,
right.
in building them up and the Great Commission, and discipling them in the ways that we should. I'm looking at the comments. They are coming in. Hey, Catherine. Hi, Catherine. She says, at our church, we have to have third non-related adults. Often we can have couples serve, but they serve in different rooms, but at the same time. Catherine, I wish that, so I served, Kevin's here. I served under Kevin for a few years, and I would make fun of Kevin. It's funny because he will always put me with Guy to serve. Guy's my husband, if you're watching. And I always said that Guy was a part of the C squad when it came to a volunteer in children's ministry. So I'm like, why do I have to serve with you guys? I'm a better volunteer than you. Okay, sorry. I'm
Oh,
just completely taking us off. But no, maybe if we had that rule, Guy could be placed with someone with another team and be a C squad person over there.
I'm just sitting here as y'all talk about parking lot ministry going, man, y'all fancy having parking lots? City Church, we don't have one of those.
But you guys are going to get there. So, okay, so let me ask you a question. So, are there any particular roles or positions that you believe your male volunteers are better suited for? We talked a lot about nursery. We talked a lot. Do you think that, or do you think no? It just depends on. Have you found that they serve better over here, or with the rambunctious fifth grade boys, or I mean, is there kind of a theme, or is it not? Is it just
No, I think just let them serve. And you'll find that there's some men who are really good with those rowdy fifth grade boys. You'll find that there's some men who are really good with that crying baby. And you'll find that there are some ladies who are good with one of those too. So
wow? Yeah.
I think too,
Yeah, I
we have
agree.
like you have your hallway heroes, you got your tech team. I mean, you have all those things that you can kind of get them in the room, and that tech person doesn't need to be at the computer all the time. They can be down, having conversations with the kid, fist bumping kids, and I mean, anytime that they see a guy serving can be, I mean, a powerful moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you, Andre, go ahead, chime in.
No, I was gonna say I think it'd be unfair to say that because then we would say these are the best roles for
Yeah.
men,
Yeah.
and we've done that so much where these are ladies' roles and these are men's roles. And I think this
Yeah.
whole conversation is trying to get away from that
Yeah.
because Van is the best 4-year-old small group leader in the entire world. He can get those kids to sit down. I don't understand how he does it. But then I had a lady who came in there and we just switched over to a new system. And I normally look for a tech guy. And she literally came in there and she was like, "You're doing this wrong." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm going to figure it all out." And within 10 minutes, she figured it all out. And I said, "Welcome to the tech team."
Wow.
And so it is like, careful not to draw those lines again
Yeah.
because we're trying to break those down so that we can
right.
figure out where people's sweet spot is.
Yeah.
We're tearing down walls, not building them up.
Come on now.
I love it. I love it. Hey, you guys, as the time is coming to a close, share some inspiration, some final inspiration for us when it comes to men and children's ministry. And hey, you guys, if you have some questions, go ahead and put them in there now in the chat box so that we can try to get some of those in. If you have a particular situation that you're struggling with when it comes to getting those men, I mean, you have some amazing men before you today who can share that with you. But Mitch, you start us off. Give us an inspiring word.
I think if I had one last thing to say, I think it would just be to just dive in and start serving somewhere. If as a guy, just serve somewhere. Kids ministry is obviously where we would want you to serve, but for the kids, it just takes one conversation to really make that connection with them, and honestly, just having that connection. If you were playing Legos with them and they were talking about playing a video game for 15 minutes, you have no idea what this video game is, but you were just listening to them. And then you doing that for 10 minutes where you're like, I have no idea what they're saying, but you're listening. 10 minutes of that, and then 10 minutes later they could really open up and share their heart with you and share what they need freedom for, or share a prayer request or something like that. And then you get that ministry opportunity to pray with them and to maybe lead them to Christ. So there's so much potential in those 10 minutes of listening where you can just really dive into that. And I just encourage everybody to just dive in and serve. I mean, it's so important. So important.
Oh my goodness. So Mitch, you're making me think I shouldn't have called my husband a part of the C Squad, because it actually was an amazing moment. I witnessed that he did have when for me, there was a child, and you could just tell. We all get those kids in children's ministry who they're just rough around the edges. Well, and then we also get those kids that are really rough around the edges. And we had one kid, and he was just so rough. And I mean, I think it was during prayer time. We were praying, and he told another kid who was sitting next to him, he said, "Shut up!" And I'm a disciplinarian. I'm the boss at home, and people know, okay, we could get over with daddy, but with mama, it is not gonna work. So that comes out of me, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this kid. And guy comes over, and he sits with them, and he's just sitting with them, and he looks at him, and he says, "Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Are you doing okay? And are things okay with, just what's going on with you, and how can we help you?" And in that moment, when I was gonna judge this kid as just a bad apple, he shared with my husband, and he says, "Well, yeah, I feel like I have no friends at school, and it really hurts my feelings, and I just feel like I can't get friends." And then God begins to tell him, my son has the same problem, and we've been praying for him. How about we pray about it together? So then they get up together and they go to the altar and they pray together. And the boy was not the same. But I'm telling you, I had never seen him the same when he came back and when he returned. It was just so incredible. And it was such a reminder to me on how important he needed a man, a man. He did, to sit, to be there, that was something that was missing. That was the influence that he needed, and he got in that moment, which was something that I really couldn't offer at that time. So thank you, Mitch, for reminding me that my husband is amazing.
Come on now.
Yes.
Joshua.
Yeah, I'm just going to encourage you as you think through all of these points, which, yes, many of them are good, and I hope you run with them. But don't be bogged down and stressed out by these things, because it's not on you. Ultimately, you serve under a good and sovereign King, and I encourage you to, as you seek to grow your kids ministry, you seek to grow your team. Yes, let's have more and more men serve, but don't let that bog you down. Instead, go to Christ in prayer and trust Him, because He is the Lord of the harvest, and He has men picked out that will be rock stars in your kids ministry, and your job is to just follow Him. So trust Jesus.
So you're telling us to trust Jesus.
Come on.
I am. Yep.
How easy is
That's
it
it.
for us to get away from that though? We do, and we put it all on ourselves. And I've had so many moments where it's like the Lord's like, "Hello, I'm here. You were never meant to do this by yourself." You, Andre, before you leave us with an encouraging word, I want to answer this question because it is not entirely men related, as it says. It says, but you all keep talking about ministry teams.
Mm-hmm.
What teams do you have in your kids' ministry? So I think they give an example, tech team, etc. What teams?
I'll go nursery up. We've got we break it up. We have a nursery team, preschool, elementary, preteen, guest services, special needs, IT. We got first time guests. You can have a hype team,
digital team,
digital, small groups, hospitality, volunteer, admin. Those are just the top of my head. I don't know if the guys want to throw in some.
Do you guys have extra teams that you would like to add to this list?
We don't really have extra. Oh, go ahead.
There should be a team that just makes up teams. Team.
I would say we don't really have extra teams right now. I mean, we'd love to get those started, but I guess we're in the process of building our tech team, so they would be able to kind of come into our kids ministry and help us with that. Our security team, they are awesome hallway heroes because they serve in the hallways, and if they're kind of our first defense before we have to get mom or dad. So like the security team is holding babies in the hallway so they don't have to pull mom or dad out of service. Wow. You know, there's all kinds of extra people that guest experience kind of do that too. Yeah. So our kids ministry, we have our obviously just divided into kids, and we're working on developing some of those, but we don't have any extra teams, but it's just your station here. But like
Captain Planet with our powers combined. We have amazing teams. So I hope that has answered your question, Andre. Now leave us with something inspiring.
Oh Lord, I don't know why we don't just end on Josh. But to the teams thing, I think you've got to create teams because as problems come, I try not to own the problems. I try to think about the person who God has called that can own that problem, who can then build a team to connect his people to. Good. And so we're creating teams. Like, why do you even have a team? Why? Because somebody came to me one day and they were like, who gives your volunteers snacks? And I was like, they don't need no snacks. Well, now we have a person who has a team who literally on the 4th weekend of the month, she comes through. And so she gets little baskets and everything. And finally she broke me down for a budget and I gave her a budget, but that's her gifting. Yeah. Otherwise my volunteers will probably never feel appreciated because they're like, my leader is crazy. But teams need leaders that solve problems. But the other thing to this is, first, I got to give a shout out to Vicki Abbott. If you haven't talked to her, Esther, you need to talk to Vicki. She's phenomenal. I love her. She's a friend and a mentor. So she is phenomenal there. And the only thing I say is, if you don't have men serving right now, if you have a few, I would ask one question and I'd get some guys, and I'd ask the question of, why would you or wouldn't you serve here? And I would just get their feedback. Because oftentimes we'll make this up in our mind in regards to why they won't. But no, ask them guys and just say, hey, I just need you to come in here and observe this. Why would or wouldn't you serve? And you'll find out so much. And it could be that, well, I didn't know that I could. Or when I see this, it's unorganized. Or when I see this, you just want me to be a bouncer. Or, what's this? They'll ask questions that will help you make it clear. Because we have on our mindset that this is so clear. But the average church attendee is not thinking, I'm going to be a small group leader in kids ministry. Yeah. So how do you make it there? But you've got to ask those questions and get the analysis. You might not be ready, or you might be killing it and just missing this one step. But asking that question, it's just like asking that question of what's it to be like on the other side of me. Nobody wants to ask it because you're going to get real feedback. Yeah. But asking that to men will give you some real feedback and, Lord willing, grow your ministry. Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And when we face the things like what you're saying, because that can be uncomfortable, because when we give surveys or we're doing polls, we want people to say amazing things, especially about things that we're leading, and that is risky for our feelings. But if we're really going to grow and get our ministry to the place that God has called for them to be, we have to do the hard things like that. So I love it. I love it. Macho Men, thank you so much for joining me and being amazing. Hey, you guys, thanks for watching. Hey, if you know someone who would just be so incredibly blessed by this, invite them to the Children's Ministry Moving Forward page so that they can get access to this and more amazing trainings, really conversations, right? Because we have fun. We sit here, have conversations. I didn't have my coffee today or anything, so this is hard for me. Feeling kind of need that caffeine, but super excited. You guys, thank you for joining us. Remember that we are here every third Tuesday of the month. Super excited. I see that. Yeah, I see Vicky. Vicky says we have teams who also only serve during our first 15 minutes of service. You gonna get me connected, right? With
absolutely. I'm gonna send a message right after this because
yes, Vicky, we're gonna get connected.
You're gonna do a whole talk on. Here's the title right now: building teams. Boom. Vicky. That's it. That's it.
Vicky,
building
get
teams.
Ready.
Come on, she's phenomenal.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next month, same time, same place, guys.